We are going to set up for a 2-player game of Perch. You're going to grab the roost out of the box, put it on the table with the colors facing the players optimally. You then are going to separate the tiles by the special, the creatures, and the basic. I'm going to set it up for the first game that is featured in the rulebook, but typically you would separate them by those, shuffle them up, grab out 3 creatures, 2 special, 3 basic, and then make it in this pattern. You then are going to place a nest on each tile that has this symbol, there, and then you can return the rest of the nests to the box. You are then going to gather the creatures based on the animal tiles you are using. So we have the dog house, we have a country house, which is the cat, and then we have the hawk's nest for the hawk. You're going to grab their cards and their mini and get that ready to go. You then are going to place the fountain board out with the correct number of players side facing up. You're going to put each player's player token up on the 0 spot. You're going to put a birdhouse per player next to round 4 and a lightning bolt per player next to round 5. Each player is then going to notate what color they are. In this instance, I'm going to be green, that's going to be blue. And in a 2-player game, you choose a color to be the bird-brained player. After that, you are going to grab the objectives decks. You are going to make sure that you just grab the cards suited for your player count. This is 2 to 5, 2 to 3. You are going to shuffle them up. You are going to deal each player 2. They are going to choose one and put it face down in front of them to score at the end of the game. You are then going to determine the first player by the last person who fed a bird. They are going to get the number 1 player token. You are then going to distribute the rest around the table, 2, 3, 4, etc. Depending on player count, we are 1 and 2. Then the setup is done, and we'll now get into how a round works. A round has 4 phases. It has the migrate phase, the recruit phase, the perch phase, and the upkeep phase. In the migration phase, the first player is going to grab the bag. They're going to grab 2 birds of each color and place them in the bag. This will include the bird-brained player. However, in the first round, you are going to put 4 of the bird-brained player into the bag, and you're going to shake it up. During the migration phase, you're also going to want to look at locations and see if any of them say something happens during migration, such as the early bird. In this instance, the controlling player places 1 additional bird from the flock into the migration bag. No one is controlling that, so we can ignore that for now. Just make sure you pay attention to the location tiles during the proper phases. You then move into the migration phase. In the migration phase, each player takes 2 of their birds. Then each player is going to shake up the bag, reach in, pull out 2 birds, and add them to their supply. So each player will have 4 birds, at least 2 of their own, and then the other 2 will be a mix of possibly theirs or their opponents. We now move on to the perch phase. In perch phase, you are going to go in player order, and on your turn, you are going to place a bird onto a location. You can only ever place 1 bird at a time. Birds may only go on the location tiles. You can never place one directly on the fountain. Birds of the same flock, basically the same color, need to be stacked on top of each other. A bird may be placed in a nest if the nest is empty. A nest will count as +1 bird for when you're counting for control and scoring points, which we'll get into for the end of round. If a nest becomes empty and there are already birds on the tile, those birds can move to the nest if a bird of that color is played to that tile. So to go over that all in detail. So if it is my turn, I can take my bird and say I want to go here. I will just place my bird in the nest, like so. I then have the option of doing a bonus action. There are 3 different bonus actions. Only one will be available to you until round 4, and that is activating a creature. This will not be available to you in round 1, as no one has control of a creature yet. But you can activate a creature, you can place a birdhouse, or you can use a lightning tile. I will go more in depth into all of those after I explain how the full round goes. So once I have placed out my bird, my opponent is going to go. So again, they can place it on any tile, and they will say go right there. Again, being able to do a bonus action if they're able. Come back to me, say I want to put my bird here again, I will just stack it on top of my bird like so. So I now have a stack of 2. So as an example of the adding birds to a nest when it's empty, if my bird had started here on this nest, and my opponent had their bird here, and then through something that happens, my bird gets knocked off of the nest, my opponent would have to then, or by me having this as my only one adding it there, once you add this bird can go into the nest, and then you'd add all the rest of the color of that one to that bird. At this point, I will also say that the locations do not wrap around, so this is not adjacent to that, nor this. It is just this specific pattern. Once all birds have been played to the homestead, you now move into the upkeep phase. The first thing you do in upkeep phase is you score each location. So you start with this top one, go top to bottom, left to right. So there are no birds here, so no one scores. We look at the great ash tree. I'm here by myself. I have the most, so that would give me 5 points. We move down to this one, the doghouse. I am it, so I have the most, so I would get 1. If someone was second, they would get 3. Moving into here, nothing. Moving into here, blue has the most. Coming up to here, so we have a tie. When there is a tie, ties are ignored, so no one would score first or second here. If I was here if they both had 2 and I was here, I would get 3rd place points. If there is a 3-way tie, then no one scores any points, as it'd be a tie for 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, and again, ties are ignored, so all those birds are ignored. So they do not score any points here. And when you look here, again, they have the most, so they would get 5 points. At this point, you would determine a new player order. Whoever has the most points becomes first player, so these would switch. You then are going to trigger locations that trigger during upkeep. So you're going to look down here. This one is during upkeep. The controlling player becomes the dog controller. So I am controlling it because I have the most birds there. So I would take the dog's card, put it in my area over here, and then the dog would move to the doghouse. In subsequent rounds, I need to maintain my lead. So in the next round, if blue had placed a bird here, I would lose control of the dog because I no longer have control of the location. It doesn't matter that I already did. Also, the dog may be moving around on their turn. When someone gains control of the dog token will stay where it is. It does not move back to the doghouse. Going through, this one would get control of the cat. In this location, if there was 4 or more birds, you would send all of those birds in that location to the plaza, which is underneath the fountain. This was during migration, and this one would give you control of the hawk player. After you trigger the locations, the round marker moves 1 ahead. When you move into round 4, each player will get a birdhouse. And when you move into round 5, each player gets a lightning bolt, like so. And then after round 5 is the end of the game. So let me now touch on birdhouses, lightning bolts, and animals. So these all 3 are the bonus actions you can take. Once you have control of an animal, you are allowed to move it. You are going to look at each card and see what the animal does. So for instance, the dog is you can move the dog to any adjacent location, move 1 bird, 1 location in any direction, away from location where dog stops. If the direction is off the board, send the bird to the fountain. So I could, in theory, move my dog there and move the bird away to send this one to the fountain. When you send a bird to the fountain, you choose where it can go. However, in order to go up higher, the locations that are connected by these lines need to be filled first. So I cannot put a bird here until there is a bird right there. If the fountain gets filled, any additional birds that get sent to the fountain go to the plaza instead. Next, you have your birdhouse. Optionally, as your bonus action, you can take your birdhouse and put it on top of any stack of birds. Once a birdhouse is put on top of there, no birds may be added to that stack. And none of those birds can be removed from that stack either. This, in essence, locks in this stack. And the other thing it does is it counts as a +1. So this group right here would be 1, 2, 3, 4. This counts as a stack of 4 birds. Finally, you have the lightning bolt, the zap token. You can use your zap token to zap a bird from any location. However, you cannot zap a bird in a birdhouse. And when you zap them, you are going to simply zap it and send it to the fountain into an available spot. The person who uses the zap token chooses where that bird goes. Quickly touch on the bird brain. Again, if I zap it, I choose where it goes. If by using a tile's ability, a bird brain player would go somewhere, instead they go back to the supply. So this precariously hanging nest where it says if this location has 4 more birds, send all to the location in the plaza. Instead of going to the plaza, it would go into the roost. So again, you are going to be going through all those phases: the migration phase, the recruit phase, the perch phase, and the upkeep phase for 5 rounds. After the 5th round, you're going to do end game scoring. Here's an example of what an end game situation may look like. So after you perform the upkeep phase, scoring for all of the locations and what have you, you move into end game scoring, which is denoted here. Whoever has the largest flock between the entire homestead is going to get 10 points. So looking at this flock topped off at 4. This flock is a 5. So in that instance, green would get that, which would go up to there. If there is a tie for largest flock, no one gets the points. You then get 3 points per creature controlled. By the end of the game, I don't even control the dog anymore because I don't have anyone on there. So no one gets points for creatures as no one has them. You then are going to get points for your birds in your fountain. You're going to see these points across here. That is how much each one of those is worth. So in this instance, blue has 6, 10, 13, 15, 16, 17 points. And green would have 4, 6, 8, 9. You then are going to empty the bag, and any birds that are left in the bag get added to the plaza, and then any birds that are in the plaza give 1 point. So green gets 4 and blue gets 2. If you pass by 60, you just flip over your score token. You then are going to look at your hidden objective, your secret objective, and see it says at the end of the game is when this is going to score. Ensure at least one location has no birds of any flock. There is, so that would give me 6 more points. And then my opponent would be doing the same thing. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. In case of a tie, whoever had the largest flock is the winner. If that is still tied, it's whoever has the most birds in the fountain. And if that is still tied, it is a shared victory. That is the basics on how to play Perch. Again, all the locations have different rules on them. So those are where other little edge cases will come into, but these are the basics of play. If I could please get you to head down below and hit like, subscribe, comment, share, and ring that bell to be alerted as we post more videos. If you wish to help support the channel, down below is also ways that you can do that by joining our Patreon, hitting up our Ko-fi, or joining the channel to have early access to these videos and other member-exclusive videos. Alrighty, so until next time, perch on that log.